Welcome back to another episode with Mystic Scales and Fae
And
Tales
Fake Tales
podcast.
podcast.
I'm one of your hosts, Jennifer,
And I'm your other host, Lee.
and we are fantasy, dystopian, and romance podcast. Welcome if it's your first time, and welcome back if it's not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Today is a mini episode, so we do two 30-minute episodes a month and 2-hour episodes a month. So this is a really fun, short and sweet bookish talk. And we sometimes do series on this with different books and different authors. But for today's mini episode, we're kind of connecting it to our larger episodes because we have a book club on the app Fable that inspired this entire thing. We have
Aw.
600 members on it, which is amazing, a little over. And we are currently, for the last few months, reading through the Grishaverse, which is a universe by Lee Bardugo with multiple books inside of it. So we started with Six of Crows, then we read Cookie Kingdom, which is a duology together. Then we read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which there's 3 of them. And then now we are currently reading King of Scars, the last duology in the Grishaverse in full length. I say that because she has done other novels that are not full length. She has a few like short novellas that are just like fun things. Like one of them is the book that one of the characters reads. So Alina in Shadow and Bone has a
Mm-hmm.
Lives of the Saint book. So they actually ended
Mm-hmm.
up writing that. So it's like you're reading a book within the universe, just like kind of in world meta. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's a new one that just came out recently that is Letters from Ketterdam, which is a connection back to Six of Crows, and it's Kaz writing to a pirate, an unknown pirate on a ship, which we can only guess is Inej. Um, so
Yes.
and there's a graphic novel as well for a prequel to the Shadow and Bone series. So there is a lot of different
So
mediums
much.
within the Grishaverse. And another one that we haven't even talked about yet, because that's what this episode is for the adaptation. So on top of you having all these books that you can read within this Grishaverse, you can watch an adaptation done for TV and film by Netflix. Netflix has done it. Unfortunately, as we are reporting on this and giving our review of it, the show has been canceled. So we
Yes.
knew going into this that we were going to read these books and watch the TV show and still feel unfulfilled because they didn't finish it. So they did get to
Mm-hmm.
do two seasons, but I, funny enough, didn't realize that I had watched the first season without reading the book back when it came
Oh
out. So I was
yeah.
like,
Did you
oh.
did you remember more of it? Because I know in the way back in the beginning we talked about you remembering things.
Yeah, I remembered like the first couple episodes because
Okay.
I remember Jesper. Like he was just like the character I remembered, and I remembered the goat thing they added, and
Mm.
so I did remember
Yeah.
that. And then I forgot like the middle. I remembered Bagra and her having to like leave, and
Mm.
then I didn't remember the end or whatever the case may be. So
Okay.
like and then when season 2 came out, I was like, oh, I want to go back and watch it. But at this point, we already been talking about reading and da da da.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
like waited for you. And I was like, well, I'll just go back and actually understand it this time. Um,
Fair.
so season 1 premiered April 23rd, 2021. So that's like post pandemic. Because I remember watching it then. And then season 2, because of pandemic, which could have been the cause of the downfall of the show, didn't come out till March 16th, 2023. So it was 2 years later, which isn't a huge gap for a lot of, TV shows that happen now. We wait like whatever years between every House of Dragon season, or we waited all those years between
True.
Game of Thrones, Stranger Things. So like
Yeah.
it happens, especially for a streaming service. Um, but it's so interesting that they had the first season and then they like took a risk and they decided to do a second season. And then like
Yeah.
now, second season they decided to cancel when they were so close. I mean, we haven't seen the second season yet. But if you're going by
Right.
the books, like you only had 3. Like you were so close to the end, then like you might as well
I
just
know.
wrapped it up. But
I know.
I do remember that when we saw Lee Bardugo at BookCon, they had mentioned like a brief comment of like fantasy shows are expensive and they took a risk with this one, and it makes sense. They're kind of hard to build on all the special effects,
Mm.
the practical effects. So
Mm-hmm.
it could have been something like that, like they just didn't get the viewership they wanted to equal to the money they spent, or who knows.
Yeah.
Who knows? But to wrap that all up, that is what today's episode is about. We will be reviewing season 1 of the Shadow and Bone series that is streaming on
Yes.
Netflix now. So spoilers ahead for the TV show. Spoilers ahead for the entire books that I've mentioned that we've read so far. And yeah, so we're going to get into it and go into a few full review. How exciting. We haven't done that in a while. I mean, we did every year
Let's do
after,
it.
but we didn't really like
True.
that. So this is interesting.
No, that's true. That's true. We're on our little, we kind of have a mini series of like adaptations happening right now. So this fits the bill, which
Very
is
good
great.
mention, because we're definitely going to do season 2 of this. And then we're seeing the Odyssey, so we should definitely do a review of that because, you know, obviously that's book related. And we're seeing some more different adaptations throughout the summer. So we're going to do more episodes on book to screen or anything in between. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So I think what's funny is that when we started this off, I started taking notes like in my notebook, and I was just like, let me write down all the differences like off the bat, right? And then as the show goes on, I stopped because it was just it was so different but not so different that it was
Yeah.
hard for me to like follow to take the differences. Like I applaud anyone who actually did it. Like I could imagine having like a huge whiteboard in the back and being like because like they would change something so much and you're like, okay, this is different. And then they would put something in that was the same, but it was something the
Right.
same that was from like so much later on. So you
Right.
like had to kind of piece it together. So it was an interesting adaptation for me because I'm like, I don't hate this adaptation, but I'm also like kind of like on the fence about it because I'm like, it's not different from the books. And some aspects of making it better from the books. But then I'm also like, they changed the story so much. Like, I don't really know how to feel and how to fall on this. Like, did you experience the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah. You had asked me at one point, you were like, do you like this? And I think I was just trying to put into words like it's different. Like it's the same source material, I feel like, but it is different. And I don't dislike that. Um, One thing that I find really interesting is like we've mentioned all of these books and like all of them are present. Like the show is called
Yes.
Shadow and Bone, but like there are aspects of characters that we don't learn until the last duology. Like there are things about Zoya that they're introducing in the show because like that's how you make a show, right? Like you have to build all the characters, not just like your main. And so they're like pulling little tidbits about her that like we just learned in King of Scars. And I'm like, that's so crazy. Like you really do have to know this world to understand.
It's a hard thing because it's a fantasy. Like, this is a core fantasy. It's not going to be like a lot of things we see later on that are a mix of romantasy where the fantasy parts aren't as heavy. Where this is like, this is all fantasy for the most part. There is a romance within it, but it's a very like back it's there, but the
Yeah,
fantasy building of this world is huge, and that's what we
right.
applaud Leigh Bardugo, the author, on a lot when we read these books, because it's
Yeah.
like it is very immersive. She has thought of a lot of things: languages, cultures, places,
For
magic,
sure.
not magic, science, and magic. So it's just like it's very intriguing to see how they pull that in. So like as I'm watching it, I'm not necessarily judging it in a way of like, well, this isn't like the book, because I'm like, well, this is really hard to actually put into words, into concept, into show. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe I don't, maybe I love it, maybe I don't know, because I can't think of a better way for do it. So I'm like, actually they did it kind of good. Like I'm like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of it is like the story of Ravka and the politics of Ravka and not just like Alina's story and like you're saying not just like the romance of it and like the beauty of the show is that they can show different places and different characters at different times, quote
And
unquote, but
plots,
like it's
yeah.
all happening at the same time. So that's how we get the Nina plot and that's how we get like the Kaz plot, which I think that is probably like our one critique of change is the weaving of the Six of Crows into this that
hmm
is a bit jarring
Yeah, let
and
me set the stage for the listener. So hopefully you've watched the
yes.
show. If not, you're just listening blind. But in retrospect, for this show, they have decided to meld the Six of Crows plot with the Shadow and Bone plot. So we meet the characters of Six of Crow from the beginning, but they change it. They add more to their plot. Because I'm assuming their actual core heist won't be until season 2, or what they were building to with season 2 and 3 that was then
Yeah.
canceled. Um, but they make Kaz and Nej and Jesper really a part of the story, and giving them a plot of wanting to, which checks out. Like, if this actually was real, this is something they
No,
would do.
yeah. Yeah.
So it was actually believable. They were trying to win the bid essentially, and be able to capture the Alina and bring her back for Amelie Kruger, which I was like, okay, this would be a heist they actually try to do, and they get intertwined within the story because of that. But they get intertwined all the way to the end, which is something that I think that we felt the critiques of. And then we're introduced to Nina and Matthias and their side story, and
Hmm.
that is pretty much the same story, which I appreciate because I'm reading it. I'm reading it in the books, and we're reading the King of Scars duology, which has Nina throughout it, and I'm already crying
Hmm.
reading it, and then we're watching it, and it was very impactful. So I appreciate they stuck to that.
Hmm.
The only major thing they changed with Nina is they had her, because they intertwined these stories of them happening at the same time, they had to change some of their backstories. So, for
Hmm.
example, in reality, in the books, Nina is actually a child when the Shadow and Bone occurrences are happening, because
Hmm.
Alina sends the children at the Little Palace off to Karazem to stay in the orphanage while the war is happening, and one of those children is Nina. And
Right.
so, and the assumption is that Kaz and all of them are also younger because they're around Nina's age. They're younger than
Right.
Alina. They're not supposed to be the same age as Alina and Matt and Mal and them. So, and Zoya and Jenya. So, like, that's the major change. So they had to change their story. So Nina is off being a spy for the Darkling, when in reality Nina actually never interacted with the Darkling.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and obviously, we get a scene with Cass interacting with the Darkling and things like that never existed. So
Hmm.
anyway, that was just setting the stage of the major thing they changed. And I think what you're right is that, like, when we get to the end, like I alluded to, with the big fight scene that is going to lead us into season 2 of them fighting within the fold, having Inej, Kaz, and Jesper there was kind of weird, and it kind
Hmm.
of I think it took away from Alina's story in a sense. And I know that's supposed to be like her backup crew, but like, I think
Yeah.
because we're so used to them not having any interaction or any connection whatsoever, it was like, for me. How did you feel?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I also had a hard time, like, I feel like Kaz and crew are rooted in the more practical world and
Yes,
not really a magical world, and like the Darkling and that entity are much more like magic and fantasy. So I think that's where I had a little bit of a disconnect
it's
because,
a great point.
and I think what they tried to like say or do to make that distinction was like Kaz talks a lot about magic tricks and like where to put your eye and like whatnot. And they bring in Inej's like ideas on the saints and stuff. And so I think
Because that's
that
true.
they,
She would believe in Sancta Elena.
right, right. So I think that they recognized that there was like a core difference there and they tried to like rectify it. So I don't know if I'm 100% sold on it, but definitely by the end of the show, I was a little more comfortable with like the Kaz crew. I also think, like you mentioned Jesper, like in the beginning of the episode, I think he's the best character. Like
He is.
I think that actor does a great job, and I think he's the
They were
most
all cast
fun.
really well, but he was
Yeah,
amazing.
but I just love following him, so I'm glad about that.
I think too with the books, what's hard is that we also don't see them ever interact with Ravka, and Cass has his own opinions of Ravka, especially when he meets Sturmhond, aka
So
Nikolai,
true.
and
Hmm.
he has his own opinions of the Grisha, and like they all have their opinions of Ravka because they don't even think that Ina should go back. They're like, girl,
Hmm.
like you're, because of the outside opinion of Ravka, which is valid, that like Grisha are free there, but they're not really free because they go there to then be a part of the army. So it's like, how
Hmm.
much of you are really free because you're actually not just living your best life. You have to, there's a condition to living in freedom.
Hmm.
So I think because we have that view of Ravka so much, which was interesting for us reading that first before we read Shadow and Bone, having them now watching them in the show within Ravka and in these politics, it's like, oh, this is a little weird. Like Kaz would hate this. Like, and he does.
Yeah.
It's not like he likes it, but it's just like this is just it's
Yeah.
so we're not seeing them in Ketterdam either, and we're so used to seeing them in
I
Ketterdam,
know.
and we're
I
not,
know.
and that's a little weird for me. But I like at the same time that they're trying to build to show you, like, because we as the reader believe in this crew, right? Like, we
Right.
understand them and all this stuff, but
Right.
as a TV watcher, you might not believe in their faith if you just randomly threw them in season two. So what they
Yeah.
were trying to do, and I 100% get, is a heist, which is the core three and
Hmm.
showing their background and how they believe each other and how they work well together for you to believe them
Hmm.
when they go to a bigger thing, which makes
Yeah.
sense. And I get
Yeah.
it. It just was,
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Yeah, it was a little jarring. And also, like, I think in the first couple episodes, we were like, what is this? Like, we were joking about, like, they make blueprints of a place, and it's like, tell me, like, they were just like spelling things out like way too much.
It
And
was
I
too
was just like,
easy.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I do feel like we had a groove. Like, the show had a groove.
I think like once like you get to episode three, it did because I think that the first two episodes were a little rough, and it wasn't. I don't know what I would have like. It's not like I would have changed. Like it's hard for me to like conceptualize the thought of like what I would piece together differently because again, this is a really hard concept to take off the page and translate it, especially because
Yeah.
you have to explain the Grisha are, explain the Darkling exchange, explain so many things. It's not like a core
Hmm.
easy storyline. Like
Hmm.
for example, with like Game of Thrones, when I recommend that to people, I'm always like, okay, the first season's a little rough because they're explaining a lot to you. But when you actually get to it, you realize that Game of Thrones is honestly, obviously, A, it's just a fight for a throne, and B, it's just the story of the Starks. You're following one family, how they get separated, how they lose everything, and then how they get back together. That's the story of Game
Hmm.
of Thrones, essentially.
Hmm.
So you can do that. But with this, it's a little harder. You're like, okay, so it's the
Yeah.
story of like Ravka, where they have political things and also the Grisha political things and also like magic but not magic, so it's like I understood
Yeah.
that it's a lot to throw at your audience and try to show, not tell, but then
Yeah.
also explain. So like I remember that when I put it on, my girlfriend actually was in the room and she started watching it and she had no idea what was happening. She was like, I don't get this at all. And I'm like, yeah, honestly, like if you didn't read the book, it's kind of hard to understand what's
Yeah.
happening. Like I'm just like,
Yeah.
whoa. And that's why I'm so impressed that I watched this in 2021 and remembered some of it because I guess I just was like
Hmm.
so into it. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that it also was like around the time of like The Witcher and all these other like fantasy things. So I think that we were all like just in the mindset for it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I was like, were there other things that were popular that made this kind of blend? Because I don't I don't think this is a show that I would just pick out. Like, be like, I'm gonna watch that, you know?
Yeah. There was a show on Netflix called Cursed, and it had the girl from
Okay.
13 Reasons Why, and so I remember this. And a teenage
Okay.
sorceress named Nimue encounters a young Arthur on their quest to find a powerful and ancient sword. And I think it was just like one season or something, but it came out in 2020, so obviously we were all locked up. Um,
Hmm.
and I remember being like, "Oh my God, this was great!" Right? And I don't even know who it was. I can't remember now, but it was magical and whatever. And that was right before this had came out. So I'm wondering if that was just like the trend of things and
Oh,
why.
yeah,
I'm trying to think
yeah.
about why I picked it up, right? Because I just started
Yeah.
watching it and like I knew it was a book, but I didn't read it. And that was like when I was still getting into reading again. Like I had like a really bad slump and I came into reading. I was like, "Woo, reading!" So I
Hmm.
wonder if there was, and then again, The Witcher was out at that time. So like I wonder if those things is what like
Yeah.
prompted this random wave of trying to do fantasy again. Oh, and then there was the Fate, the Wink saga. Remember that came on for a little bit? That was 2021, 2022.
Oh, okay.
Also on Netflix. So I think Netflix was really trying to invest in all of these fantasies. And it's just,
Interesting.
it
Yeah.
depends on what hits and depends on what doesn't.
Yeah. And I will say, like, Ben Barnes, like, he will always be great. Like, Prince Caspian and up to this, like, put him in some kind of fantasy, like, medieval world. Like, that man has got it. So I thought he was great.
Oh my god, so many scenes with his bug eyes. His eyes are like popping out of his head.
My
I was like, oh my god.
goodness. Yeah. And like he's also kind of ageless, which is perfect for the Darkling. Like he's probably 40 something years old and he doesn't look it, you know?
I mean, he
I
did look
mean,
a
he's
little
not like
older.
20, but
No.
but I mean, there are like worse things. Like we've all seen Off Campus if you watched Reba, like and you remember Van, like Garrett's dad doesn't look good. Like he didn't age that great, at least for that role. But I think like Ben Barnes does a really good job. And my little Narnia heart was happy.
My Narnia heart.
Um
I love that. No, he does do a really good job as the Darkling, and I think the show captured really well Alina's like which like props to this actor. I think she was a very good Alina. I think that they captured the weirdness that we felt while reading the book of being like,
yeah.
do we are we supposed to ship them? Because I don't ship them. And like it's weird. And then you could see that and she has this line that I really love when she's talking to Mal when she was like, I made some really stupid decisions at the little palace. And then you're like, yeah, she did. She made like naive and she kissed him and it felt weird and it didn't feel
Mhm.
great. I loved it because it didn't make it feel like you weren't uncomfortable like, oh, this is predatory, but you were like, this isn't right. Like this isn't like work together and what it is. And so
Yeah.
I love that the book was captured in that way because that's how I felt reading it. And but I was
Yeah.
gonna say the reason I love that I think that she played a really good Alina is because she made me understand Alina a little bit more that I didn't get
Mhm.
until the third book. And I love
Mhm.
that I was able to understand her from the jump, the way that she was playing her.
Yeah.
And I think they added this extra level of her being Shu and the prejudice against that. And that was so intriguing for me because they made her
Mhm.
more of an outsider. Like in the book, it's just like she's just a no one and she's an orphan and people don't really look her way because they don't
Right.
care. But now
Right.
they're like, people are singling her out and not giving her like kindness because of it. And it's kind of
Mhm.
insane because then she becomes
Yeah.
Grisha and it's a different aspect they added. So what did you think about that?
Yeah. It keeps bringing me back to so when we went to BookCon and we saw the Lee Bardugo panel and she was talking about Shadow and Bone and she was talking about the show and she said that doing like she loved doing the show, but it like changed her relationship with the work. And even as we're reading like King of Scars, like I keep thinking about that and wondering like when did that happen? Like
Mm,
how did that happen exactly? And I think at least in like what you're talking about, like it was a good thing. Like I think the show was able to kind of like hone in on some things, like you're saying, like with Alina, and like understanding her. Like there's a scene towards the end of this season where I thought we were gonna get the scene where Alina like tries to take power from the Darkling.
yes, thank you for
I
mentioning
thought,
that.
yeah, I thought we were gonna get that early and I was intrigued. I was like, oh, I kind of want it right now, but we didn't. So I'm curious, like,
But I
when
like
that'll
that Easter egg
happen.
for us because I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if we didn't read the book if we would have noticed that because it was a clear
True.
foreshadow as a show thing. But
Yeah.
what Lee is saying is the scene is that he is like it's my power too, and she touches his arm and he looks down at her a little panicked, and then realizes that she doesn't realize what she's doing, and he just like takes more of her power. But her touching his arm, he realized that this could be a two-way street of using power, which we
Mm-hmm.
found out that it is later. So I love that
Mm-hmm.
they kind of like put that foreshadow in the show.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that was pretty cool.
So, yeah, I guess upon like reflection, I kind of like them as a tandem thing. Like read the book, watch the show, like understand them better. I think they like balance each other out in a way, which is nice.
Yeah, they do, and I'm wondering like, you know how Veronica Roth is going back and rewriting
Oh
Divergent,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily that I would want to reread all of this again because this is a lot. This is a lot of source material that I'm even kind of struggling with King of Scars. Um,
Yeah.
I wonder that if she had the chance though to go back and rewrite her universe, I think this the Shadow and Bone trilogy because like the Crooked Kingdom duology and Six of Crows is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder if she would have incorporated some of the changes that were made throughout the show within it.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
like we mentioned multiple times, even at the BookCon event that we saw her at, she was kind of just like pushed past the
Mm-hmm.
Shadow and Bone trilogy and even mentioned that she
Yeah.
was copying a lot of other people did. But it was her base bone to create this universe. So it's like you can't
Right.
fully ignore it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be interesting. Like what changes she would hold to.
Toward the end
Yeah.
of the show, we kind of got the same as what happens in book one, right? Like once we get Alina to leave, and once we actually before that, Alina does the whole like, I need to forget about Mel so I can unlock my
Oh,
powers. That
right,
all the
right.
way to the end is pretty much the same beat, like not beat for beat, but it's pretty much the same in terms of plot. And then they intertwine the Six of Crows plot, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
But for the most part, like that's the same. But then they give them more depth throughout, you know? And like we get to follow Mal. And we mentioned that when we read the book, like we wish we would have got Mal's perfected Mal's
Hmm.
chapters. And in the show,
Hmm.
they give us that. And like that was like, oh, that's so great for
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
as the readers.
Yeah,
So that
and
was
they
fun.
even like so there's a bonus in I think it was in Shadow and Bone, the
Yes, it
end, the
was.
letter from Mal. And like they basically used that in the show, like when they show him and his friends like going into Fjerda. And I thought that was like it was good if they had just done it as the show, but to know that that was like source material already, like I don't know, it just made me feel
It's really
better
cute.
about it. Yeah. Um,
So I'm going to read some rapid fire things I wrote down, just main
okay.
differences.
Okay.
Everyone is already waiting for the sun summoner. This is a known knowledge that people are like
Mm.
waiting for the sun spirit thing to break the spell. In the book, it's not the same for the fold. It says she looks like her mom, even though in the book she doesn't even know her. Um, Mal already does fighting in the pits with people, but it's not Grisha.
Oh, yeah.
There is war in Ravka that they mention multiple times because they're fighting the Shu and the Fjerda in multiple areas while also being separated from West Ravka. So that's kind of like the need for the army, where in the book it's more the need for the armies is like because of the fold,
Mm.
and they obviously
Mm-hmm.
always fight the Fjerda because they're looking for the Druskala and they're looking for the witches and all this stuff. So like that, but they never really mention the Shu Han in terms in this in the book, but in the show they're like, no, there's like war from all the sides. So like that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously we get Six of Crows mentioned. Oh, and they of course mentioned Kaz stealing the painting, which was
Oh, yeah.
great.
Yeah.
We have the whole introduction of them crossing the fold with the merchant.
Right. The
Um,
conductor.
Mal does not sleep with Zoya. Where in the book he does sleep with Zoya. Um,
How about Marie's death in the show? Marie is like a decoy for Alina
oh, that was interesting. Yeah, so
and she
like her
gets
friends are
murdered.
like
Mm.
real in this, and she gets murdered. For Alina, that was different. Also, when before that, Mal is the one who's asked to cross the fold. Not both of them in the book. They are both are. So
Oh,
Alina
yeah.
tries to get on the fold. So, oh, I wrote this down. I don't know why. It takes them 5 months to go around the fold from Kettergam to Fjerda.
Okay.
I don't know why I wrote that down.
Instead of
Um,
through. Okay.
so it's been hundreds of years ago the fold was made. Where I think in the book it's shorter. I don't think it's hundreds, but I
Oh,
have to double check that. Um,
okay. Also, the Darkling has a significant other at one
in the
point
past.
in the show,
Mm-hmm.
and we were never shown that or led to believe that in the book.
Pekka Rollins is shown very early on,
Yeah.
where in the books we don't see that man till the end, and I hate
Yeah.
love that because I understand why you have to do it for show purposes, but I kind of love the fact that he's this lingering thing in Kaz's
Yeah.
presence that we don't.
Yeah. It kind of I think it's another one of those like if you didn't know who he was, it wouldn't have really made sense. And like Kaz mentions him a couple more times in the show, but like I don't think there's enough weight on who he is and like the
To Kaz,
like
yeah.
yeah. I what do you think about how we haven't met Sturmhond or yet in the
We
show?
don't meet him to the second book, do we? I don't
No, but
remember.
I kind of expected to meet him by the end of this.
I didn't. I think they did. I don't remember if they mentioned like there being another son.
I think they did. Because I was
Because they do mention the first
thought I
book.
was paying attention.
They're like, there's that one son that goes off drinking and did it. Like they mention him in the book. Like that's his like coy. It's not really actually what happens with him. But yeah, I think it is interesting. But I mean, we'll see with season two. Maybe there's a
I
reason for
mean,
it.
yeah, there, but I just like, I feel like there wasn't even like a hint. Like, I thought maybe they'd like show someone, and I don't know. We'll see. There was a party at the palace, so maybe he
We'll
was
see.
there.
Um, Lena does mention she says a line of "I'm never that sick" to Mal, and so they still keep the thing that she was always weak and sick because she didn't use her power. They still had the "I'll meet you at the meadow." Love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Alexei survived. Like in the book, he like dies immediately on the fold. He's the
Is that
cartographer
the
with her.
guy?
He
Yeah,
runs
okay.
across, and then that's how they intertwine the Six of Crows. But I wrote that down, I'm like, what the hell? Um, okay, let's see. They change how the how she got around the Grisha test. So, which
But yeah,
made sense for the TV show because I think if you tried to explain that, like, what was it in the book? Like, she just they just
I
didn't
I
detect it or
don't.
something.
Yeah, it wasn't very clear, and I think it was so early on that we didn't really know what this test was,
Yeah.
but it wasn't deliberate like it is in the show.
Which they needed to explain that for the show because I think as an audience you would have been like, how did she avoid this? Like that makes no sense.
Right.
So I
Right.
did like it, but like she had to like give herself pain because the pain is the test, and I was like, oh
Hmm.
wow, it made me
Yeah.
appreciate Alina. I was like, oh, she's actually really smart. Something that's definitely that they do keep, which I appreciate, is they are attacked on the road to the little palace, and that's where we see the cut used for the first time, and it's still
Oh
just
yeah.
as brutal. And honestly, they
Yeah.
don't hold back in the show, and I kind of like that. They were like
Hmm.
the Darkling's powers are scary. I do
Hmm.
have a question for you. Does Alina's power make any more sense in the TV show than the book did for you? Because the book, we were struggling.
The book, yeah. I guess so, but I think it's different in the show. Like, I don't feel like they're the same, just like this glowing thing. I really
She
hate when she
glows.
does, yeah, and she does a little ball of fiery light. Like, I guess I still don't know what that is.
She's
And the
not fire.
glowing, no, but the glowing is really bad. Like, the visuals are bad.
That's where the budget got lost.
Yeah. And like there was one scene where she didn't blind someone. She just kind like it was like she set fire to his eyes. Like I don't know if you remember that. She like
Yeah,
blasted
I
it
thought
up,
she blinded him, but I wasn't really sure.
but that's not how I would have envisioned being blinded. But I don't know. I also like I even think the Darkling's shadows are not that impressive. Like, and I guess that's also just like budget and how you portray that, but I don't know. I wasn't wowed. Any of their like displays of power were not hitting for me,
The only
but
one that
that's
makes, I mean,
okay.
it's really hard to do all those powers. Like, the only easiest one to do is fire, and that's like with any fantasy thing.
Yeah.
And like everything else, like it is. That's why it's like when you have these things of like Akatar or other things with like very specific magics, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see these adapted because even when we're watching
Mm-hmm.
like the Avatar Last Airbender adaptation, it's like some of it's like you just can't do it. You know, you just can't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. No matter how good, it just can't. Anesh has a brother,
Yeah.
not mentioned in the book. Um,
She's also still indebted. Well, yeah.
She's still indebted, which I don't think that that's the case. No, it's not the case. In Six of Crows, I
No.
think they buy her contract. So she is
Yeah.
indebted, quote unquote, but she's indebted to like Kaz and the Crow Club or whoever they serve. I forgot who their guy is.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really care as much. Like he does, but he
Right.
doesn't. So she can still do
Right.
whatever she wants. But in this, she still is indebted to um the menagerie,
Helene.
but I think they did that
Yeah.
on purpose because if they're saying the core heist, if as if you're not picking up the actual Six of Crows book minus Nina's story. Well, actually, yeah. What they're saying is the actual Six of Crows story is not happening yet. They're giving you all the background that you do get in Six of
Hmm.
Crows because you find out about Nina Mateus as you're reading Six of Crows, but it's not happening in real time. So they're giving you all that in season one.
Right.
So that would be maybe that was their story, quote unquote, in Lee's head before, is that this was the lead up to Pekka buying her contract. Or not
Mm-hmm.
Pekka, sorry, Kaz buying her contract.
Mm-hmm.
Because now he has the jewels, the necklace that's it, suddenly
Yeah.
worth as much, whatever, but is enough to not. Essentially, all he needed was to buy her contract so he can take the Crow Club off being on hold for the liability, and then their bank. The only thing they have to avoid is people trying to kill them. So, like, this
Right.
would work in aspects of giving you the backstory on that. Um,
Yeah.
so technically,
Now
it
I'm
works.
yeah, now I'm curious, like how how much are we gonna be left hanging from season two?
It depends on how much they really get going with Six of Crows. Like, I really,
Yeah.
if this is supposed to be like the lead up to the actual heist and like where we pick up in Six of Crows, because now that we're talking about it, I'm like, wait, this actually makes sense. Like, yes, they changed the whole age and like where they are in terms of like Alina and Jenny and them being in relation to their ages. But I get what they were doing. They were setting up for what actually is, as if you just open the book of Six of Crows, this is where you're dropped off in.
Yeah,
But
but there's
now, like, if we only
no
get one season of it, then it's like, yeah, wait, that does kind of suck.
right. But there's no they haven't talked about Parem, right?
No, but you
So,
wouldn't have. You wouldn't have until you get to that part. Because we're
but
not
like
at that
that's
part for Kaz and them. They're not in that
yeah,
part yet.
but that's the whole point of their heist. And I feel like that's like two big bads. Like you've got the Darkling and then you have the effects of Parem. So I'm like, I don't know. That
Yeah, it
I
is
feel like that's
hard
too
to have
much for
that.
a season two. Um, so I don't know.
Unless they intertwine that the Darkling is then using Parem on Grisha to help his forces.
Yeah. That's the like only thing they could do is like it's aiding him or he created it or something. But he's not dead. He
Not
came
dead.
back with
With this
his
Nietzsche Voya.
yeah. So we have to see what's next.
And we still
And
end with Mal and Alina on the ship. And Mal's
yeah,
wearing the scarf that Alina eventually will wear. And they like kind of end with the same imagery as the book ends with. Um, and Kaz and them are going back to Ketterdam so they could be in their place for their story to begin. And yeah, we're kind of set for book two to really start. Oh, I like that they changed the
oh
plot that
yes,
we get in season two, in book two, of the way that they track Mal and Alina to Novia Zem is that they use the same like jewelry to sell in different
right.
places. And so with this one, instead they changed it to that she's wearing a ring that can be tracked with fabricator magic. So I was like, okay, that is a lot better because I think in the show if they did that, the audience would be like, wow, they're just stupid. Because in the book we were
Right.
like, they are stupid.
Right. But they were also desperate. Like they didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
So,
very desperate.
but yeah.
How did you think
Um,
of, sorry, one last question before we wrap up. What did you think of the stag? Did you like the stag? How it
oh
looked?
no. I think didn't I just say to you like how is she gonna get that on her neck? Like his
Yeah,
antlers were
huge.
ginormous.
But they only took a part of
Uh
it.
yeah. I what I didn't understand about the stag story in the show is like Mal finds him and then leaves and finds her. And like I understand he's the tracker, so it's like not going to be hard for him to find it again. But I was
Which it
like,
isn't.
I don't understand. Like, why did you find this mystical being and then you left it and everyone died? And then now you got to go find it again, but
I mean,
someone
what would he
else
have done
is
with
looking
it?
for it. I mean, he would have had to try to capture it and bring it to her, which
But he
also doesn't
can't.
really make sense. But I just thought it was dumb. And I was like, it was a suspension of disbelief that I didn't want to do. Like, it
Hmm.
just didn't, I would have rather they found it together. Like the book, like that makes sense to me. And they have this moment understanding what the stag is. So I was put off by that. I also like, I'm curious because, like, has anyone mentioned the serpent yet? I don't think so. I mean, they've looked at that book a couple times, but
Hmm. Let's see if
so
they
we
get it
got
as quickly as they do in the book.
right, right. So we will be listening. We will be watching season two
Season two,
and
that's up
reporting
next.
back.
Yep. So thank you all for listening to the review of season 1 of the Shadow and Bone TV show. After we have read the books and watched and reviewed, stay tuned for more. For like we just said, for season 2 of the show, and then sadly that will be the end because there's no more. And maybe we'll map what we thought season 3 would have been about. Like give
We
our
could
own
try.
fan casting of a season. Um,
Sure.
Check out our full length episodes where we are reviewing King of Scars soon and that duology, and read with us in the Fable app to end out the Grishaverse with us in tow. And then we'll go on to another big series after that, so stay tuned for more. Make sure to check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Let us know what you think of the Shadow and Bone series, the book, the TV show, everything in between. And let us know what you're reading too. Like, how's it going? What's your summer looking like?
How's your summer? Yeah.
Literally, what's your summer reads? And we hope that you're curled up with a good book and staying cool and happy reading.
Happy reading.